Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Transfer Portal CFB podcast presented by No Context CFB. We're back for the Week 9 preview, a day late, I believe. Life has been crazy for everybody, man, but we're here. Week 9 is here. Adam is with me. How you doing?
Doing good, doing good. Not college football related, but my Rangers are in the World Series, so shout out to them. The vibes are great here in Dallas. So happy. Talk some college football. Let's get into it.
You know what, man? And the fact that the Houston Astros are not in the World Series makes me just as excited.
I agree with you there, brother. I agree with you there.
Yes, sir. So we're a little over midway through the college football season. So I think it's a good time to start asking which teams have surprised us the most in a good way and in a bad way. I think we've seen enough of, kind of a little bit of a charcuterie board of every team in the country to see who's good and who's not. Still a lot of ball left to be played, but let's see what you think, Adam. Which team has surprised you the most in a good way?
Cosmos in a good way. I'm not gonna go based off the start of the season. I'm gonna pick a team that I thought around week 3, week 4 that was good, that was done. And unfortunately for everybody, it's the Alabama Crimson
Okay.
Tide. I was for sure that it just wasn't their year. I thought they could lose to Ole Miss, a couple of these other teams. They almost lost to Arkansas. The whole Jalen Milroe thing, it didn't seem to be working, and it seemed like for the longest that they were trying to run Alabama's offense and not an offense around Jalen Milroe. And we kind of saw that when they benched him to see if the other quarterback could run that offense, Tyler Buckner, and I forgot the other guy's name. But after that Texas game, after the UCF game, I thought Alabama was done. And here they are. I think you can make an argument that they might be right now the best team in the SEC.
Wow.
Um, honestly, like if they played today, then versus Georgia, I wouldn't be shocked if Alabama won that game. So I just shout out to them. It's one of them things you just can't. They'll never die. I feel like. um, Another one I have two is Oklahoma. That turnaround from Brent Venables from year 1, year 2 has been amazing. That team looks like a powerhouse again, which is very annoying for for myself.
Really? Tell me why that
very,
is.
very annoying, but I thought they'd be better. I did their preview for the magazine, which hopefully you got the magazine. You got the magazine, but and I think I had them. I didn't. I don't think I had them in the Big 12 championship, but it looks like they're cruising. They look good. Defense looks good. Dylan Gabriel looks good. They got a running game that seem to have. I don't think they have a number one wide receiver, but it's a number one by committee right now, and it's working. So shout out to Oklahoma, Nick Saban. So annoying, just go away. But I'm gonna go with those two. My camera.
Oh, your camera went away.
I'm back.
There you go. Now, you talked about the South Florida game. The South Florida game that Alabama had on the road, weirdly enough, was that alone was bizarre. But if you watch that game, it was the least Alabama football game I've ever seen in the Nick Saban era. It felt like I was watching like a group of five mediocre slugfest between bottom tier group of five teams.
This
It
is
was so
horrible.
bizarre. It was ugly, and it just looked like South Florida was gonna win that for a while. It was weird as it
They
sounds.
probably
It
should
looked like,
have.
yeah. I mean, if Alabama's defense wasn't so stacked, South Florida really just needed like one really solid drive, and that probably could have put it away. But
Yeah, that's
yeah,
the
that
thing.
game
Like
is weird.
it's like their defense. I knew their defense would be good,
Yeah.
right? But their offense is still scoring points. I mean, like they put up 34 against I think a pretty good Tennessee team. They had 26 against A&M, 40 against Mississippi State. That's not really good defense, but they're still scoring points. So that that's where I guess the surprise is the Alabama offense has looked as good as it has.
Yeah, I mean,
compared to what it
you
was.
kind of have to assume that Alabama is going to figure it out under Nick Saban. It's not like, oh,
Yeah,
week three, they're done. To me, it's kind of hard to say that. As bad as they looked offensively, it's hard to say, oh, they're done because it's Nick Saban. And I think there's probably only half a dozen coaches that you can really say that, where it's like, maybe, they're 1-4. Like, it's Kirby Smart. They're not done. Like, if that would have happened, I would not have really, you know, uh, really put it past him to come back. But Nick Saban, like, they'll figure it out. And I know it's a brand new coaching staff. It happens a lot at Alabama. New coordinators, people are always getting shipped off to other schools or the NFL or what have you. So that one I'm not super surprised by because I felt like once Jalen Merrill was the guy eventually, because it was clear to everybody he should have been the guy. I think
yeah.
Ty Simpson has some talent. I just don't think he's ready yet. Jalen Merrill was always the guy, and that South Florida game was just weird why they benched him. I felt like once he was the guy, they got the system down. I felt like they were going to be smooth sailing. I don't think I'm confident enough to say that they're the best team in the SEC right now. I mean, I think by default, I'd still take Georgia, but I think the gap is definitely closing for sure. Um, I'm going to talk about a team that actually just played tonight, Thursday night, at time of recording. Virginia Tech is one that I'm kind of surprised by.
Yes.
They're a team that used the transfer portal to improve. Um, and offensively, you want to talk about a bad offense. Their offense was terrible last year. They didn't score 30 points once last year, and they've already done it 4 times this year, and they've won every game. Three of their final four games are on the road, so bowl eligibility is still up for grabs there. But I definitely think it's possible, and I didn't think that turnaround would happen so quickly with so many new pieces. They're trying to figure out everything under Brent Pry, and I think they're doing a really good job. And Kyron Drones to me has been kind of the answer because quarterback has been a huge issue for Virginia Tech the last couple of years. He's not doing anything that's spectacular. He's not lighting up the scoreboard or anything like that. I guess compared to last year, they are. But he's doing just enough to really keep that offense afloat. The running game is where I've been the most impressed. And I believe it's pronounced Bashal Tutin. I hope I'm getting that right. I believe he's North Carolina A&T transfer. He had a huge season last year at the FCS level, transferred to Virginia Tech. Been huge for them. Dominated tonight against Syracuse. Syracuse, that team needs help, man. But we'll get to teams that are disappointed in a second. But
Basketball
you
school.
said Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma State has been one of the most
Yes.
surprising teams.
Very, very good
I
choice.
Yeah, I thought they had one of probably the two worst rosters in the Big 12 coming into the season, and they already have 5 wins. I would have been shocked if they had 5 wins if you would have told me that in August. Alan Bowman has done just enough to lead the passing attack. They've got some weapons on the outside, which I think I knew before the preseason. Ollie Gordon, though, has
Oh my
been
gosh.
one of the best running backs in the country. People need to know his name because he is tearing it up right now. And
282 yards on 28 carries last week.
four
That's
tutties,
insane. Come on,
four
bro.
tutties too.
Come
Yeah.
on.
And then I think it was the Kansas game. He had 100 like 60 something rushing yards, and then he had like 120 receiving too.
Hmm.
Dude, man, he's must watch TV. Y'all gotta watch Ollie Gordon, man. I didn't think I'd be shouting out Oklahoma State at this point in the season, but they're doing something, man. I think they're a fringe top 25 team right now. I think we had a couple people vote them into our poll this year or this week. Um, I think they're a team that could potentially pull off a huge upset in the Big 12. I'm looking at in a couple weeks against Oklahoma.
two
They get that game
weeks.
in Stillwater.
Two
Yep, they
weeks.
get
Next
that one in
weekend.
Stillwater. I could see it, man. If Kansas isn't, I we'll get to it. I picked Kansas to beat Oklahoma, but if they don't do it, I could definitely see Oklahoma State being the first team to win. Texas State's another one I wanted to give a shout out to. They're 1 win away from bowl eligibility. It's not even November. That's nutty. So shout out to GJ Kinney. Um, Team that has surprised you the most in a bad way. Let's get to it. Let's start throwing some salt at some of these teams here.
I mean, going to the Mountain West, Air Force has been amazing, but Boise State.
Oh yeah.
I mean, did you see this with that roster that they have? I feel like they should. I mean, 3-4. third in the Mountain West and coming in a week 9. I don't think
Yeah.
anybody saw that.
They've had a tough schedule, but I
I
thought
mean,
they would have
yeah,
won
but
some of these.
it's not 3 and 4 tough. I don't think. Like the
Yeah.
Washington game was tough. I think they're better than UCF on paper. I think they're better than Memphis. They just lost to Colorado State in a crazy game, but
That was ridiculous. Yeah, I think it's the last two games, they came back from down like 27-10 against San Jose State and won.
yeah,
And then
it's
the
been
week
rough.
later, they choked up 30-10 with like 5 minutes left or something like that. It's just been a crazy year for
Yeah, and
Boise State.
you mentioned, I mean, Ollie Gordon, Ashton Genty's balling too,
Balling out.
right?
And nobody cares.
And it's just I don't. It's just so disappointing. I remember a couple years ago, Boise State was the cream of the crop in the Group of Five, and I thought they'd be back this year. I was excited,
Yeah.
but doesn't look like it. Kind of disappointing.
Damn shame. Talent wise, I still think they're one of the most talented
Yeah,
group of five teams. Like
easily.
I still don't think it's crazy to say that they could potentially win out. I have to look at their schedule, but talent wise, that's a team that could probably still win out. But the Mountain West has gotten so tough because Fresno State's still a really good team. Air Force,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, is one of the top teams in the group of five, if not the top team in the group of five. UNLV, that's a tough team that I didn't really expect to. That's a surprise. Wyoming, always a tough team. I mean, it's a tough year in the Mountain West, and to see Boise State kind of fall back like this is weird. And I feel like we need to start a conversation about Andy Avalos, maybe potentially.
Maybe. I'm looking at the schedule. They have Wyoming this week at Fresno State, and then they end the season with Air Force.
Oh
So
man. Okay. Well, this is a team fighting for bowl eligibility.
it
That's
might be
crazy.
just three. you know, They-
That's insane, man.
yeah, they got to win one of those three to be bowl eligible. So
Yeah, that's insane, man. Yeah, I talent wise, it's just so mind boggling that they're 3-4 when they have so much talent. Um, I don't know. I want to see them get it figured out because that's a team, like you said, I thought they were going to be back to Liam. If you guys have watched Liam on this podcast, he talks all about Boise State. I was kind of jumping into the hype train because he was like, hey, Boise State's going to run the Mountain West, yada, yada, yada. And no, not really. So that's definitely been a disappointment. I'm going to stick in the Big 12. We were talking a little bit Big 12 for surprising in a good way. Texas Tech is a team that has gotten abused with injuries. First of all, let's put that out there. Really tough injuries, but even if they were healthy, I still think it would have been a tough year. It feels like forever ago that they almost beat Oregon at home. Um, and defensively, I mean, this team's just getting run over. And offensively, I thought they were going to be one of the better offenses in the Big 12. And, losing Tyler Shuck the way they did early in the year, I think Barry Morton's out now. Um, it's just been a really tough year, man. I thought Texas Tech had a really good chance to win the Big 12 coming into the season. And I know you were really high on them as well.
it was.
It's tough. I mean, they're 3-5, and I just don't think it's going to get any better. So that one's tough to see. And then South Carolina, they blow, man. I don't know if you've watched any South Carolina games, but
I have.
yeah, defensively, I did not think they were going to be so bad. I think they're giving up like 34 points a game in the SEC right now. And their offense is just wildly inconsistent.
It's
Their
wild. They
schedule's
have. They
too
might have the
loaded.
best quarterback in the conference too. And it's
No.
like,
No. No.
you
Have
don't
you ever
think
heard of
so?
Jaden Daniels?
I said, Mike Spencer Rattler's been hooping too.
No,
I,
Jaden Daniels, please, it clears Spencer Rattler. And I know I've
Clear
said some clears. Clears. I
clears.
like Spencer Rattler as a player. But
Yes.
um no, man. I like Spencer Rattler in this system. I just don't think everybody else has been super inconsistent. Like it feels like some games there's a receiver that goes off. Otherwise, he's throwing like he has to throw checkdowns because nobody's getting open. Um, and then the run game is kind of off and on. So their schedule's too loaded too. I mean, they've already played four ranked teams, haven't won against any of them. I still think there's a chance that this team finishes with 5 or 6 wins. I think all but one of their games is at home to finish the season. So I think this team could get on a roll and get to bowl eligibility. But I also wouldn't be surprised if they just fall flat and it's another forgettable year. At this point, Shane Beamer is kind of a guy I've seen some stuff started on Twitter about him. A lot of people don't like that he I don't want to say refuses, but he avoids accountability sometimes. And so if they keep falling flat with the talent they have, similarly to Boise State, I could see Shane Beamer's name being thrown around in some conversations on the social medias.
Yeah. I didn't expect much from South Carolina coming in.
Mm.
I didn't expect him to be this bad because I thought Spencer Rattler would get him a couple games because I think he is
Yeah.
really good. Now on the field and in person, I don't know him personally, but on the field, I thought they get a couple, but it has been very disappointing. Um, and they had some games I thought they could have won too, just didn't
Mm.
pull it out.
Yeah. And again, games like that, it comes down to coaching. So
Yeah.
Shane Beamer, we're looking at you, pal. So sticking with the group of five conversation, in case y'all don't know, we have an award called the Colt Brennan Award, named after the legendary Colt Brennan, rest in peace. Honoring the top group of five player every season. This is our third year doing it. I feel like at this point in the year, this is the most wide open by far that
Yes.
it's ever been. I don't think there's a clear cut front runner at this point, in my opinion. But I'm curious to
Don't
see who
either.
you think is the front runner for it right now.
Oh my gosh. I mean, you have to go with Zach, right?
Larry?
I think so, right? As of
I
right
don't hate
now,
that at all.
if it ended. But I mean, obviously you got I can't think of his name. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Come on.
Michael Pratt.
There you go.
Obviously. Preston Stone, he's kind of figured it out at SMU. There's a couple others, but I mean, I feel like Air Force is. I mean, Tulane too. One of them is going to be, I think, the group of five in the New Year's Six Bowl. But I mean, if Air Force keeps rolling, I feel like you got to go with Zach, right? The numbers don't look great, right? If you don't watch them, then you're gonna say, oh, he's not doing that much. But
Well, yeah, it's because Air Force is Air Force, and they're
yeah,
gonna run the football. And Emmanuel
Mhm.
Michel is done. I think he's a contender for sure.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, Air Force has been fun to watch. I like that thinking. I think if Mikey Keene didn't get hurt, Fresno State,
yeah,
I
that
think he
hurts.
was definitely getting up there. I think he was week to week really consistent. They're beating some tough teams. Um, and Logan Fife has done a pretty good job in his absence, but it was a shame to see Mikey Keene get hurt because I think he was definitely one of the front runners before he got hurt. Um, I
Hayden
think Hayden
Salter from
Salter.
Liberty. Yeah,
There
James.
you go. Yeah, yeah. To me, I, I think he's probably the front runner right now. Honestly, I think what
Number
he's
wise, it's hard to
doing.
disagree. I mean, what do you have?
Yeah,
2,000 passing and over 500 rushing.
yeah. Hasn't turned the football over very much. It's a high-powered offense. They're running
Hmm.
the hell out of the football over
Yeah,
there. They don't have to light it up in the passing category like Air Force. Not to that extreme, but Liberty has done a really good job with a balanced attack and rushing. They're one of the best rushing attacks in college football. Caden Salter has been really fun to watch, especially just his growth. Because I think
hmm
last year we could see some of the potential, and then with Jamie Chadwell coming in, you had a feeling that this offense could be something special. Um, and we're starting to see that. Kamani Vidal is another guy, Troy running back, leads the FBS in rushing with 951. You mentioned Ashton
Yep.
Genty, Marcus Carroll at Georgia State. Um, there's been some really strong running back play in the group of five, but to me, I think
Quentin
it's
Cooley
it's
from
Salter.
from Liberty as well.
Oh yeah, Quentin Cooley.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been really good this year. So, um, yeah, I think Salter, Larry is a really good one. Emmanuel Michelle
Hmm.
is a really good one.
Yep.
It is wide open though, and I think that's really cool because it felt like the last couple years it was pretty clear cut, at least who the top contenders were.
Yeah.
Last year Dwayne McBride was just off and running, and then the year before that Bailey Zappi was just tearing every defense up like it never had been before. And so I think this year, the fact that there's so many people from so many different conferences, I think that makes our race pretty exciting. So I'm excited to see how that goes.
Yeah, I wish some of these like top group of five teams played each other, a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
maybe
there are a couple. There are
there's
a
a
couple that'll be
couple.
playing this week.
Yeah, I want to see like some
Shall we?
interconference stuff, outer
Oh,
conference stuff.
yeah,
Like
for
let me see
sure. Well,
Liberty versus
shall
Air
we?
Force.
Was that?
I said, let me see Liberty versus Air Force. I just want to see.
Ooh, that'd
I
be
don't know.
fun. I don't know what bowl game we could be able to see that. CUSA versus Mountain West.
I can't even think of it. There's so many ball
He's
games.
not there. Anyhow,
Target
shall
Bowl.
we? Shall we get into this week's games?
Sir, what we got.
So I have a feeling I know who you're going to pick for this one, but to start off, number 6, Oklahoma at Lawrence playing Kansas.
um, I think Oklahoma kind of got a wake up call versus UCF. It was kind of understandable. You're coming off of a very high intensity rivalry game against Texas. You go and you play respectfully UCF. The vibes just aren't the same, right? You're not as hype. It's a natural letdown. Even though they had the bye week, still it's just a natural letdown. So I think that was a wake up call. I think they know what's at stake. They can't afford to lose. Um, so I'm gonna go with Oklahoma.
Okay. Well, I guess I was wrong. I thought you were going to pick against them.
No, no. Be unbiased. I don't want them to win. I'm definitely rooting against them, but I'm gonna pick
Okay.
them to win.
Okay. That's fair. I think we need to have a discussion about Jalen Daniels and his health because it has really been an issue with his back the last couple of years, and their chances of winning are a bit lower without him. Because Jason Bean is as talented as he is. And they kind of have a similar element in terms of their playing style. I just need to see a confident Jason Bean in his decision making, especially against a really stingy Oklahoma defense, which is just bizarre to say that. But that's a talented defense, and they really get after the quarterback. And so if he's not confident back there in his receivers getting separation in his time in the pocket, I think it could be ugly. Um, and I think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see him be confident. I think we're going to see him make good decisions. I think we're going to see him make some really good throws. I want to see him get involved in the running game. And so I think Kansas pulls off the upset over Oklahoma and they rush the field. Rock chalk,
Yes.
baby.
I subscribe to that. That's good for the brand.
Yes, sir. I should have worn my Kansas shirt just to be even more on brand. Number 1, Georgia against Florida in Jacksonville.
In Jackson, what's this game called? It's the
I was just trying to think of that same
oh
thing. I
my
didn't want
gosh,
to
it's
stop
so
the show to
hilarious.
find it, but
It's
you should
so
know.
I should know, and I said it today. It's the cocktails and something.
Yep.
The
You're
the
close.
largest
World's
cocktail
largest
and
outdoor cocktail party. That's
yeah,
what it is.
that yes. um, I'm interested to see how Georgia looks without Brock Bowers. Somebody's gonna have to step up. I talked about it on the recap about Georgia, and they have options, right? Who's gonna step up? I don't think Florida is as a pushover as we thought they would be. Graham Mertz looks like he's kind of settling in. They're kind of open up the offense for him a little bit more. We know about Florida's two running backs in their running game. They're legit. They're gonna try and keep Georgia's offense off the field. Um, I think Georgia wins, but I'm gonna be watching just to see how I gotta see how the offense looks without Brock Bowers because he's been their safety net all season and he's not there. I'm picking
Yeah.
Georgia.
I think you said it. They definitely have some alternatives to Brock Bowers, but he's
Yeah.
obviously as important as anybody on that team. I want to see how their two transfers come in, Ra Thomas and Dominic Lovett. I want to
Mhm.
see if they can really step up and be, number one guys. Um, I I like Florida at this point in the season because their defense has kind of proved me wrong. They're one of the top defenses in the SEC so far. And that's kind of surprised me because last year they were kind of that pushover team. Offensively, they looked better than I thought as well. So overall, this is a team that at this point in the year, they're way better than I thought. With that being said, I still think they're going to get humbled. I still think this Georgia team is getting hot, even without Brock Bowers. I think defensively, they're starting to figure it out a little bit. I think Georgia wins, and I think they have a better chance of shutting out Florida than being upset, to be honest with you.
That wouldn't surprise me. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie.
Number 8, Oregon. Number 13, Utah. College game day in Salt Lake City for this one.
Yes. This one's kind of tricky. Utah's kind of hot right now, obviously, because they seem to be doing what they always do. Everybody forgets about them, and here they come, steamrolling through to ruin everybody's master plan of how they want the Pac-12 to play out. Kyle Whittingham, what is he, 30 and 31 at home? I think something like that. Um, still not sure about Utah's offense. I don't think they're as good as what we saw against USC. The fact that I don't know if you listened to Alex Grinch's post game interview about what he
Yeah.
saw.
Yeah.
I don't know what they do at practice or what the scouting department is, but it told me everything I need to know about that defense. And Utah will turn the ball over. Well, they don't turn the ball over, but I did my research. They have 10 fumbles. They've lost one of them.
Wow.
I don't think that's not something that's sustainable. Oregon does not turn the ball over, right? They're very safe. Take what you give them, run the ball. I think it's gonna be a rock fight, but I think Oregon's gonna get them. I think
Mm.
Kyle Williams is gonna lose his second game in Salt Lake. Give me the Ducks.
All right. All right. Yeah, I think it's 27 in a row that they've won at home.
Yeah, the record's
I believe.
crazy. Yeah, I think they're 30
Yeah.
and 31 overall, 27 or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, if you're an Oregon fan, you are probably getting shades of when they played Utah at Salt Lake 2 years ago. That was November of 2021. They lost 38-7, and then a couple weeks later, they lost 38-10. I remember the whole thing, clearly two different, programs at this point, 2 years later. But I remember when Utah won the first time in Salt Lake City, everybody was like, "Oh, Utah's not 31 points better than than Oregon." And then 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, it was like, "Oh, you're right, they're 28 points better." It's so. I don't think the gap is that far between either of these teams. I don't see it being a blowout either way. Um, I thought the same thing about Utah's offense, that they're not as good as what they showed against USC because USC's defense is just Swiss cheese. It's garbage. So as an Oregon fan, I'm nervous about this one because Salt Lake City has not been kind to Oregon the last couple of years. And Utah in general has just been a really tough team to beat, regardless of opponent. Every Pac-12 team will have issues with Utah because that's just a tough team. And like you said, they go under the radar every year, no matter what. The amount of shuffling that the roster has gone through with Sione Vaki going to running back and like doing really good stuff in the receiving game as well. He's a safety and he's just being a star on offense. Kyle Whittingham is just a wizard. I don't understand how they're in the position they're in every year when they get injuries and what have you. It just seems like he can adapt to anything. He's one of the masters at that. With that being said, I don't really see Oregon's offense being slowed down um, by this really physical Utah defense. I think this Utah defense is as physical of a defense as Oregon has faced this year. And I think that's pretty easy to say. But I do think Oregon in the trenches is really tough. I think it's going to be one of the most fun matchups we'll see this weekend is Oregon's front on offense against Utah's defensive front. And I like Oregon to win that matchup. I think it's going to be a really close game. And I like Oregon to win this one, but I wouldn't be surprised if Utah their offense shows up a little bit more than what you and I both think, and they're able to pull off an upset and ruin Oregon's playoff hopes again.
I think this is the Bo Nix Heisman game right here. This is it. It's the
Yeah,
Heisman game. Go get it.
I would sure like to see that. It's really funny. Before we get on to the next game, it's really funny that people seem to hold Bo Nix still in like they still think of Auburn Bo Nix whenever they think of Bo Nix and like Heisman talks and who's the best college football quarterback. They still think of that, but they don't do that with Michael Penix at from like his days at Indiana. They don't think of him in that way. I don't get that at all.
I
And
still hear a little bit about Michael Penix, not as much as Bo Nix, but I think it's because people just
and
didn't watch Indiana; they watched Auburn. You know, people you expect Auburn to win. That might be it. A
that's
little
true.
SEC.
Indiana did have that one fun year in 2020
Like,
when Penix was balling out, but I don't know. It's just a side tangent I wanted to bring up. I
mhm.
don't get why people still have that kind of negative correlation with his name. I mean, he's balling out. So I don't know. Do with that what you will. Number 20, Duke. Number 18, Louisville.
I mean, I feel like we're singing the same song we sung last week. Is Riley Leonard gonna be healthy?
Yeah.
Right? As of right now, I don't think so. I think if he does play, I don't know how healthy he'll be. I think this Louisville team is really good, so I'm just going. I'm right with Louisville. Let's rock. Go Cardinals. It's
Yeah,
in
that
Louisville
that
too,
Florida.
in Cardinal Stadium.
Yeah, I think so.
Mhm.
I think that Florida State game, Riley Leonard did not look healthy for a second of that.
No.
And it was funny because I think I was watching the game, I think it was the Oregon game before that. Um, and they were cutting to like, oh, there's 10 minutes left, 15 minutes left till kickoff. And they were doing that little zoom in and they were showing Riley Leonard run around the field. And they were like, oh, he looks healthy. No, he really didn't. He really did not. It looked like he was kind of gimpy from the start of that game. I remember he did have a pretty long run where it looked like he was kind of gutting it out. And it was like a 15-yard run or something like that. Didn't slide, got tackled. Um, and then, yeah, he just went down again. That passing offense, even when he was in there, was just zilch, ineffective completely. Um, and shout out to Florida State's defense for showing up. But their run game is really talented. Louisville's is even more talented. I think Louisville's run game is going to carry this one. I like
Yeah.
Louisville to win big. Unfortunately, I as much
Oh,
as I
we're
like
big.
Duke, I like Louisville to win big on
With
this
that
one.
new defense, you don't think it's gonna be tight? You'll be able to slow them down a little bit.
I like the Duke defense. I just think it's more vulnerable than numbers may tell you.
That's fair.
But it's tough. It is a tough defense. I will give them credit, especially up front. Let's do some more action. I think this is 2 weeks in a row we've had a MAC game.
Yeah.
Miami, Ohio versus Ohio.
This is a rivalry game. Does this have a name? I don't even know if this has a name. No, every
I
rivalry game has a name.
I don't know. I know I did some extensive research on um, some of these like trophy games and stuff like that. I don't think there was one for these two
It
teams,
just
but
feels like every game in the Midwest that teams play, they have a name for it.
yeah, you're not
So I
wrong.
figured this one would too.
We'll
Um,
check.
I rolled with Miami, Ohio last week. I think I'm gonna ride with them again. I think I'm gonna ride with them again. Best team named Miami, even though Miami won last week too, which I didn't think they would.
I don't hate that.
My camera.
Um, your damn cameraman, what are you doing?
I'm back.
Um, I love that Ohio is one of the top teams in the MAC. Curtis Rourke is healthy. Their weapons are as good as any in the MAC. I think Ohio wins this one handedly, and the reason being is Miami, Ohio is without Brett Gabbert, and that was just a gruesome, gruesome injury. He's going to be out probably a while. Um,
Yeah.
I like Avion Smith as their backup. I just think Brett Gabbert was really starting to find a groove before that injury. And offensively, I don't know if they can keep up with Ohio. So I like Ohio at home. Um,
Yeah.
FCS action. How about this? I don't think we've done an FCS game for a while. Montana State against Idaho.
Montana State against Idaho. I want to go with Idaho because friend of the show,
Yep.
friend of the portal. Shout out to everything that they done for us. But when I was looking at it, I just like the way I like Montana State in this one.
You think they get swept by the Montana schools this year? That's tough.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think they only lost by one score against Montana, but I don't think that one was as close as that score made it seem. Um, I I like Idaho in this one,
Oh,
and
you do.
the reason being offensively, I think they can win a shootout. I think both teams can win a shootout, but I like Idaho at the KB Dome to win. But Montana State's rushing attack is crazy because they have like anybody that touches the ball is electric, it feels like. Um, and so Idaho kind of feels that way too, but it's going to be a matter of who can get a stop in this one because both offenses are electric. And I like Idaho in this one at the KB Dome. Like you said, friend of the portal. I can't pick against him. I might be
No,
biased.
it's okay.
Whatever.
It's okay.
Wyoming, Boise State. Do you see Boise State jumping back into
I
the
do.
action here?
I think their backs are against the wall. This is, I mean, they gotta string together some games. Um, like I said, we put up the schedule. They have Wyoming, Fresno State, and Air Force. I think out of those three, Wyoming might be the easiest to get because I have them at home. It's this week. I think that just because their backs are against the wall, they gotta have it. They gotta have. You can't be miss a bowl game at Boise State. I feel like that's unacceptable. So give me the Broncos.
Well, I'm going to take Wyoming. I think Boise State falls to 3-5, and I think
Man,
Andy
that's just
Avalos' tush gets warm. I Wyoming is just one of the no matter how their win-loss record looks, they're one of the toughest teams to beat in America. I cannot explain it. There's a phenomenon that needs studying with Craig Pohl's team, man. That is just a tough team
just
to
make the
beat.
game ugly.
Yeah, that's what they do, man. Offensively, they're not going to, surprise you. They're not going to do anything crazy, really, unless it's that Texas Tech game. That game was just on ketamine. That game was wild. But defensively, just a solid, fundamentally team every single season. I think they shut down Boise State's offense. And I think they do just enough on offense to win the game. I like Wyoming on the road in an upset. I don't know. I don't think it's an upset. It feels like it is because it's at Boise State, and it just seems like teams going in there are underdogs on the Smurf turf. I don't know. Maybe I'm making stuff up. Tennessee and Kentucky.
um, Battle of a mid off in the SEC, respectfully, but um, this one I went back and forth on because I don't think either team is very good. Kentucky, I mean, I haven't seen much from them other than that they ran all over Florida, which I didn't expect, but I mean, so it's Florida, whatever. That's really the only good thing I've seen from them. I didn't think they deserved to be ranked that one week they were ranked. So I think Tennessee has the better defense. I said last week their front their front four is I think still not maybe not one of the best, but at the top tier in the country. I think they'll be able to slow down Kentucky's run game, which is really all they have. Definitely really hasn't shown me anything. So give me Tennessee on the road.
Yeah, I always get stuck with Kentucky. I always want to pick them to win these upsets when they're at home,
I don't know why.
but I don't know why either, man. I don't know. I thought they were going to be. That's a team that surprised me in a bad way because I thought Devin Leary was going to really solve their offensive woes from last year. No, not really. If not, they're worse in the passing attack, like you said. And it's weird because they have Barryon Brown, who's a speedster, as electric as anybody in the SEC. They have Dane Key, who is an awesome outside receiver, friend of the portal as well. But the passing offense just has not been able to get it together. Devin Leary's been kind of pulling a Cam Newton and chucking it a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more than he should. And then defensively, I am not as convinced as I felt like I would be. Ray Davis would, like you said, he ran it up on Florida, and he's been a bright spot for them. But um, I don't know. I'm going to avoid the Kentucky curse again and picking them to win
Right.
another upset. I'll go with Tennessee, but I don't feel good about it. I mean, for a half, they looked really good against Alabama. If we see that, I think they can run away against Kentucky. If we see second half Tennessee against Alabama from last week, I don't know. I guess could go either way, but I'm going to go with Tennessee.
Understandable.
I don't feel good about it though. Ohio State against Wisconsin.
Oh, man. I think this one isn't tricky, right? Ohio State's gonna win. I think Wisconsin can cover this game
What's the spread at?
though. Not even sure.
It's probably not as high as it should be.
What is the spread?
It is 14 and a half.
14 and a half. Yeah, I think they get that. Um Braden Locke, it is what it is. But I think Wisconsin, they get one turnover. I think they cover. I think the score is like 28-17, something like that. Some low classic Big Ten game. Ohio State's gonna win, so I'm picking Ohio State. I'm picking Wisconsin to cover. I'm putting that into the gambling thing. Put me on the sheet. Wisconsin's gonna cover this game.
Well, I
Lock
mean,
it in.
that Illinois game, did you get to see any of the Illinois game? Because that one was
Why
wild
would I
last week.
watch that?
I don't know.
Why would I watch? Why would I watch Wisconsin versus Illinois? Ask yourself
I
that.
think I think the only reason why I turned it on was because Illinois, I think they're up 21-3 or something like that. And then I saw Wisconsin put together a couple of scoring drives. I think I watched the last like 5 minutes of it or something like that. Um, from what I saw from Wisconsin fans on Twitter, it seemed like Braden Locke kind of grew up like in the middle of the game.
Yeah, I watched the
Didn't turn the ball
highlights.
over. Yeah, didn't throw any interceptions. He played pretty well, especially as the game went on. Braylon Allen's going to do his thing. Um, I I'm not as high on them to do so well against Ohio State because Ohio State's defense to me is probably top five in the country.
I agree.
Um, and so but the weird thing is, I feel like everybody for some reason is rooting for Ohio State, specifically Kyle McCord, to fail, and it's kind of weird. Um,
It just
I
comes with
don't.
playing at Ohio State. Honestly, I feel like
It's just the Ohio State quarterback curse, I guess.
yeah.
CJ Stroud looks to be the guy that's going to finally break that. So shout out CJ Stroud, but I think Ohio State covers. It's tough to win at Camp Randall, especially in a primetime atmosphere, late October. It's going to be hyped, but I think Ohio State is easily the better team here. Um, Give me Ohio State, but what an upset it would be if Wisconsin was to get this one. I think we're due for an upset like that.
Yeah.
You know,
Awesome
maybe
camp. Let's
that's the
shake
one.
things up. Let's shake things
Yeah.
up, man. Come
Yeah, come
on.
on, Wisconsin. Let's see what you got. But I think Ohio State wins. And lastly, how about some top Mountain West action? UNLV against Fresno
Sir.
State.
And what is this? 3 versus 4? Something like that in the Mountain West.
On the
It's a
standings.
big game because Fresno State already lost. Fresno State lost to Wyoming.
Yeah, UNLV is undefeated in the
UNLV's
conference.
undefeated. So Fresno State kind of has to have this.
Yeah.
They're at home. I I watched them against Utah State. I wasn't super excited about what I saw, but then I wasn't excited about UND versus Colorado State. Was it last week? Fresno State's coming off a bye.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take Fresno State. I think they come off a bye. They're gonna be ready. They gotta have it. You know,
Mhm.
they're at home. Crowd's gonna be rocking. Let's go. Be the Bulldogs.
Yes, sir. In the Valley.
Mhm.
I think it's crazy that both teams are playing well with backup quarterbacks. We expected this to be Doug Brumfield against Mikey Keene, and we're getting Logan Fife against Jaden Mayava. And he's played really, really well. Couple guys that have balled out. I mean, Ricky White he was really good last year. He's been really good this year. Jacob DeJesus has been really good, had a really good game against Colorado State. This one is one I'm going back and forth on because I'm a big Fresno State guy. I'm a big believer in Jeff Tedford. I love what they're doing. I have this weird feeling that UNLV wins this one though. I don't know, man. That's a
Do
weird one. It's
you?
tough to win in the Valley.
It is
So
coming off a
I think that
bye.
home field.
Fresno State.
I, I'll stick with Fresno State, but I could see UNLV getting a really big win.
You think they
Um,
cover -8.5? Did they cover?
Yeah, I think so. I think it could be like a field goal game.
That's fair.
Sure, UNLV, man. Already bowl eligible, and it's not even November.
Six
That
and
is really
one.
cool.
Six
That is
and
really cool.
one. Wow.
Yeah, man. All right. Any last thoughts on the week 9 slate before we cap this one off?
Um, Malik Murphy season in Texas. Let's go. Let's hoop. That's it.
Some people were saying that was an upgrade at quarterback. How do you feel about that?
Those people are stupid. Respectfully.
Again, Quinn Ewers is one of those quarterbacks people just want to say fail.
Yeah, respectfully. Quinn Ewers have been absolutely insane for us. So,
well, my team also has a quarterback that people enjoy seeing fail. So I
come
don't
for
know.
success. We
People,
want to see you fail. Unless you
yeah, people.
Dabo Sweeney, that's Dabo Sweeney. He hates it.
That's a guy that deserves to fail. We'll save that for another podcast, please. I don't want to get into that man's uh words. I was trying to put that in a nice way without getting myself riled up, but Dabo Swinney, we're watching you, pal, because ugly is all I'll say. Anywho, let's cap this one off. It's late. Let's get to it. So thank you everybody so much for tuning in. We will see you in next week's recap pod Monday morning.